Today we are focusing on hamstrings. So in terms of props, if you have one of each type of prop to hand, a low block and a brick block, that's great. If not, don't worry, we'll make it through practice without the blocks. You can always substitute, as we've done in the past, for cushions or books or something of that nature. So grab your blocks, and from there, let's come down onto our backs. And so just take any comfortable reclining posture, take a few moments here just to get any wriggles and fidgets out of the body. And then let's take a few breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. 2 or 3 breaths, just to help us find that sense of release down into the floor. And now continuing to breathe with a soft breath in and out of the nostrils. And take these first few moments as we begin our practice to just see how the body is this morning, how the body feels physically, energetically, how the mind is as well. Using this time for practice as an opportunity for connection, an opportunity to really center ourselves in the body and in the breath. And in particular, feeling the points at which the body makes contact with the floor, where pressure can be felt between body and earth. Noting what's felt in each of those places. And having established this sense of connection to the body, we'll transition into our movement practice by bringing the knees in towards the chest. So simply squeezing the thighs in towards the belly, perhaps taking a little rock from one side to the other. Just beginning to ease through the lower back and again, just get a sense of how the body is moving, how the body's feeling today. And then as you come back to center and settle those rocking movements down, let's bring the feet onto the mat. So bring the feet to the floor, hands to the floor as well. And then from there, we'll rock the pelvis forwards to create a little arch between the lower back and the floor. And then from there, we'll spread the whole of the back down. So closing that space between body and earth. Let's take another round of that movement. The pelvis rolls forwards, we create the arch. The pelvis rolls back, we spread that back down into the floor. And as we continue these movements, rolling pelvis forwards, as the pelvis rolls back, we'll create some pressure down through the hands and the feet to lift up into a half bridge. Pause there, squeeze back on the feet, and then roll the body down to the floor. Roll the pelvis forwards. And again, we'll spread the back down and we'll lift into that half bridge position. Feet squeeze back, and we'll take another round from there. Let's come into the half bridge. We'll hold for a few extra breaths this time. So can you feel that squeeze of feet to shoulders, active along the muscles of the back lines of the legs? And then as we roll the body down once again, we're going to draw that right knee into the chest once more. So left foot stays grounded. From here, just as we've done with the low bridge, we press down through the left foot, we lift the pelvis, we pause, we squeeze back on the left foot, and then we roll our way down from there. Pelvis rolls forwards, pelvis rolls back, we press, we lift, we pause, and we'll take one more round. So at your own rhythm, find your way up. Once the pelvis is lifted, hold for an extra few breaths. And from there, once again, we'll roll our way down. We'll switch out the legs. So right foot to the floor, left knee to the chest. Find that lift, that pressure down through right foot, the pause and the squeeze. And then two more rounds from there. We lower with control. And then we lift. Last round. And as we did first side, we'll hold for another 2 or 3 breaths here. Okay, let's find our way down once again. Release that left foot to the floor, release the hands for a moment. And once again, we're going to find that spread of the lower back into the floor. So an active bit of pressure of lower back to earth as we pick up the feet, as we take the hands onto the fronts of the thighs, and from there, stretch the legs long. With some pressure, hands to thighs, we bend the knees, take the heels all the way to the sit bones, and then again, we'll stretch the legs, spread the toes, and we'll take a few more rounds. So just moving the legs, opening and closing the knee joints. And again, really paying attention to the sensations along the backs of the legs, particularly in those big hamstrings muscles. And one more time, let's stretch the feet to the sky, hold there. And as you continue to create some pressure of hands into thighs, you might draw the thighs a fraction closer into the body and notice how that affects these sensations. And then from here, we'll bend the knees again, take the feet all the way down, and let that breath settle once more. We're going to take one more movement from our back, combining those last two practices. So let's bring the right knee into the chest again. We'll create that pressure through the left foot. We'll lift the pelvis a couple of inches from the floor. This time, stretch the right leg long. We're going to interlace the hands here and catch around the back of the right calf muscle. And as we lower the pelvis to the floor, let's hold the leg in the same position. And again, as we lower, you might feel those sensations growing a little stronger along the back line of that right leg. We'll hold here. We'll find that breath again, that soft breath. And then beginning to create some pressure of the right calf muscle into the hands. So as the right leg presses into the hands, draw back with the palms. So again, there's energy traveling both directions. Start softly. You can build that sensation over the next 4 or 5 breaths. And then as you soften, you might find that the right leg draws in a fraction closer. Find your range. Pause there again. Spread the toes. Right leg presses to hands. Hands pull against right calf. And then as we soften again, you might find just a fraction more range still. We're going to hold the right leg in position as we reach the fingertips forwards. And from here, let's create pressure down through the left foot again. Lift the pelvis so that frees up the hips. The right leg can travel in a fraction closer. Keep that right leg extending long. Imagine you're going to tap the toes to the floor behind your head. And then from this position, we'll begin to lower our way down. So pelvis to the floor, right knee bends. Let's take a breath between sides. Just check how the right leg's feeling, how the left leg's feeling. And then from there, we'll take those movements second side. Left knee to chest, pressure down through right foot to lift the pelvis. From there, we stretch that left leg long. Let's catch the hands behind the calf muscle. Hold the leg in position as we lower the pelvis to the floor. And from there, we breathe into those sensations of stretch. And so like a dimmer switch, gently at first, feel the calf muscle press into the hands. Feel the hands draw back into the calf muscle, and then gradually build that sense of pressure over the next 4 or 5 breaths. And then soften. Find your new range. If there's a little additional range there, pause again. And then we'll take one more round from here. So find that pressure, that sense of resistance building gradually. And again, we can soften from there. If there's more range available, draw the leg in a fraction closer, reach the hands forwards. And from here, as we lift the head, we press down through the right foot. You might find that that left leg draws in closer still. Energy through the foot, spreading the toes. And then from here, we can peel our way down once again. Let's bring that left foot to the floor, let the breath soften. And then from our backs, we're going to roll over to one side, and let's make a transition up to all fours. So take that transition up, set your neutral all fours to begin with. So hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. And for now, at least, let's keep the pelvis pretty stable. So we want to try and avoid dropping into dog tilt or cat tilt here. Some tone in the belly as you grip the floor with the fingertips, and then extend the right leg long. And from here, we're going to take a bend into that right knee. So bend the knee roughly to 90 degrees, and you press down through the hands. Let's work towards lifting the right foot a fraction closer to the ceiling. So lift the right foot a fraction, and then stretch the right leg long again. Tap the toes, reset the hands. We'll take a second round from there. Hands press the floor, belly toned, bend the right knee, lift the right foot up. It might be just an inch or two, very subtle. And then one more time. We'll release the right leg long for a moment. Feel the base of the spine rolling towards that back knee as we take one more round. Knee bends, foot lifts. And from here, we're going to switch out those legs. So as the right leg goes long, we can bring the right knee under the right hip. And then from there, we take the length through the left leg. Again, pressure down through the palms, little tone in the belly, left knee bends. We lift the foot an inch or two, pause and hold. And then tap those toes to the floor. Let's take 2 more rounds. Hands reset, knee bends, foot lifts. Can we keep that soft rhythm of breath? And then one more time. We'll tap the toes down. We'll reset those hands one more time. Let's take the bend into the knee, the lift of the foot. And this time, as we come back to that all fours position, resetting left knee under the left hip, let's move into a few rounds of cat-cow from there. So just releasing any tension in the front of the body or along the spine. Feel into those cat-cow movements. And then beginning to move the body in any other ways that feels helpful as well, any other ways that helps to release any tension that might be felt in the body here. So you can rock forwards and back, shift the hips from side to side, anything that feels good for your body. And then as we begin to find our way back to our neutral all fours position, we'll tuck the toes. And from here, let's move up into downward dog. So draw the hips back, lift those sit bones to the sky. Take a few breaths here, just easing your way into downward dog. And then from your downward facing dog, we're going to bring the feet forwards to the hands. So let's take a walk forwards. We can take as many steps as we need, a nice steady transition forwards. And then once the feet have come all the way to the hands, soften the knees so we can really feel that sense of release of the abdomen onto the thighs, so that the head feels released as well. And then let's bring the arms behind the legs. So either catch hold of your elbows or hold onto your ankles, get a good grip around the legs or a good grip of the arms. And then as you draw the abdomen and the thighs a little tighter together, we work more length into the legs. So we press down through the feet, we lift up through the sit bones, and then soften the knees from there. Let's take another round. Feet pressed down, sit bones lift, and we'll continue for a few more rounds of these movements, just bending and re-lengthening the legs. And then one more time. Let's find the fold and hold the fold position. If you want to release the fingertips to the floor now, feel free to do so. But can we feel again that sense that the head is simply hanging here? You might take a few nods of the heads or shake of the head. And then from your standing fold position, we'll soften those knees again. Let's lift the chest a little. And then feel as though you're pulling back on the feet. So you're pulling the feet to the back edge of the mat as we lift the chest. Start to press down through the feet, and we draw our way up to a standing position from there. And once you've come up to standing, take a few breaths just to find your center again, to find the connection feet to floor, sense of balance, sense of equilibrium. And then with the hands onto the hips, we're going to take a few movements in and out of that standing fold position. So we soften the knees again, we pull back on the feet, and as we fold, we bring the abdomen to the thighs. From there, legs lengthen, release the fingertips to the floor. And then bend the knees, lift the chest, pull back on the feet. So hopefully feeling that all the muscles are active along the back line of the legs to draw our way up to that standing position. Let's take a few more rounds. Knees soften, we fold, and legs lengthen. Knees bend, feet pull back, we draw our way up. We'll take that twice more. And then this time, as you find your way down into the standing fold position, let's release hands onto the mat. And from here, we're going to move back to downward dog. So either stepping directly to down dog, if you like to move through vinyasas in your practice, move to plank, find your vinyasa movement back to downward dog. And then once you've found your downward facing dog, let's raise the right leg. We'll stretch back through that right heel and then bring the right knee in towards the body. Bring the shoulders forwards over the wrists. Keep pressing those hands down and step the right foot between those hands. As many steps as that takes. Let's bring the left knee onto the floor from there. You might want a little bit of cushioning underneath that back knee, so a blanket or doubling your mat. We're going to move into half splits. So let's come onto the fingertips, walk the hands behind the line of the right heel, lift the toes towards the shin, and then with a squeeze of the legs together, we'll shift back to half splits. And then as we shift forwards again, almost feel that it's the right leg pulling you forwards to that lunge position. And we'll take a few more rounds from there, shifting back and shifting forwards. Keep that squeeze of the legs, 2 more rounds. And then the next time we take the half splits position, we hold there. Lift the chest a moment, so find a sense that we're extending the chest forwards. Keep that extension as we fold through our center line. And as we take some breaths here, let's keep that squeeze of the legs together. Right heel pressing down, pulling back, left knee squeezing forwards. So just a few more rounds of breath here, really softening into that breath and into the sensations present. And then from your half splits position, we'll keep the right leg long as we come up onto the fingertips. Pressure down through the hands, some tone in the belly. You might work towards a lift of the right foot, or maybe it actually lifts from the floor. Press away with the foot, press away with the toes. And then from this position, we release the right foot to the floor. We shift the weight forwards, plant the hands. And again, we can either step directly back to down dog or through plank position, from plank, any which way you like to transition into your downward dog. And then from down dog, let's move through second side. Left leg lifts, stretch the heel back, bring the knee in towards the chest, slowly forwards, pressure down through the palms. We set that left foot to the floor. We bring the right knee down as well. Make the pose long. Any cushioning you want to take under the back knee. Let's walk up onto fingertips, curl the toes away from the mat, squeeze the legs together, half splits position, and then left heel presses down to draw your way forwards to lunge. And again, we'll take a few more movements in and out of that position. Next time you find your half splits, hold there. Lift the chest, draw back on the fingertips, fold towards center, soften into that fold position. And again, really paying attention to that sense of engagement along the back line of the left leg. So we keep that left leg extending long. Let's come back up onto the fingertips again. Lift the chest, active pressure down through the hands, squeeze the belly, work towards that lift of the left foot. If it doesn't lift, no problem. Just work towards that engagement. And then from here, once again, we set the left foot down, we shift forwards, plant the hands, and move back either to dog pose, child's pose, kneeling pose, whichever is your preference. We'll take a few rounds of breath there. Okay, so if you're not already, let's begin to move our way up into downward dog once more. We're going to take another round of the lunge positions. This time we'll switch up the legs. So let's lift the left leg first, stretch back through the heel, knee towards body. We take that step to the floor, bring the right knee down from there. Again, you might want some cushioning underneath that back knee. We're going to take a bend of the right knee this time. So either we can simply use those hamstrings to curl the heel towards the sit bone, or from there, reach back with the left hand, see if we can catch that top of the right foot. As you roll up the left shoulder back, initially press the right foot into the left hand. And then from there, you can use the left hand to slightly draw the right heel a little closer in. From there, make the whole body strong and see if you can hold the right foot more or less in the same position as you bring the left fingertips to the floor again. And we're going to hold this squeeze through that right leg. Imagine you're squeezing a ball between your right heel, your right sit bone. Okay, and then from here, we extend the right leg long again. Let's shift back to downward dog, so any which way once again. And then from there, we'll move through that second side. Right leg lifting, knee towards body, shoulders forwards, take a step. Bring the left knee to the floor, come up onto those fingertips, make the pose long. Again, we can either simply squeeze the left heel in, or we reach back with the right hand. Shoulder rolls back, create that pressure of left foot into right hand. Keep that pressure as you draw the heel a little closer in. And then from there, make the whole body strong. Let's see if we can avoid the foot dropping away as we release the right foot down onto the floor. And from there, we hold. Okay, now from here, we extend those toes to the floor and we make that transition back once again. Downward dog, kneeling pose, child's pose. We'll take 4 or 5 rounds of breath here. And then from your downward facing dog, let's take the feet to the hands again. A step, a walk, maybe a jump forwards. And from there, we release to that fold position. In the fold, toes are spreading, soften the knees, begin to pull back on the feet, lift the chest, and up we come once again. We return to our mountain pose, and from there, let's release those arms. So we're going to explore that action of the legs, this time with standing balance variations. So firstly, we'll move to warrior 3, and I'm going to keep my hands alongside my body, but if you prefer, you can take the hands in front of the chest. Let's soften the knee, so we've got that little bend in the knees. We're going to keep that bend in the right knee as we shift the weight over to the right leg. Left heel lifts, start to hinge forwards from the right hip, and we just touch into warrior 3. So lower the chest as far as you want to lower, and then keep pulling back on the right foot as we draw our way up from there. So return to mountain pose, set the left foot down, switch to second side. So soft in the left knee, start to hinge forwards. As the chest lowers, the right leg reaches back like a counterbalance. And then from there, we draw our way up. And we're going to take 2 more rounds to each side. So keep the spread of the toes, keep a little lift of the belly button to the chest. So we're engaging the abdomen, helping to steady the balance. And on our 3rd round to each side, we're going to hold the balance position. So next time you're balancing on the right leg, lowering the chest, reaching back through that left leg, pause there. Now, without collapsing the belly, so again, we want to keep a sense of containment through the front line. Let's take a bend into the left knee, just as we did from all fours. Feel as if you're trying to lift that left leg a little closer to the ceiling. Okay, and then start to reverse. So lengthen the left leg, draw your weight up, set that left foot down. One last time, second side. We shift over, we find our warrior 3. Keep that little bend in the left knee. So notice if you want to lock that knee out. And from there, we take the bend into the right knee, and we work to lift that right leg a fraction higher. Keep the belly contained. Okay, extend right leg long. Start to draw your way up from there. Find standing mountain. Let's take a soft fold. So soften the knees and just release down into that soft fold position like a raggy doll. And then from the fold, let's find our way back to mountain pose again. So same transition, pull back on the feet, find your way up, set your mountain pose. So we're going to take a similar practice, but this time we're going to lower the chest closer to the earth. So hands can reach either side of the body, soft knees, shift the weight right, lift the left foot, start to lower. So rather than finding the chest parallel to the floor, see if you can continue that journey. You can use the hands to the floor if that's helpful, just to work towards standing splits, but keep the little bend in the right knee. And then from there, we work our way up and back. There might be lots of wobbles on the journey in and out of the pose, that's fine. Shift to left side, start to lower, keep the shoulders squeezing back. And again, you can keep the hands lifted or use the hands for some support as you find your way into that fold position. Find your way up. And just as we did with the warrior 3, we're going to take 2 more rounds to each side. Okay, final round, we're going to hold the fold position. So shift over, fold towards the right shin. This time we will take the hands to the floor just to settle the balance. Left knee bend, so very similar to Warrior 3. Take the bend in the left knee, lift the foot up from there. Okay, let's extend the left leg long, start to reverse up. And then one last time, we'll take that pose over to the left. So soft in the left knee, right knee bends, work to lift that foot from there. And again, from here, we'll start to reverse. So reach the right foot back, keep that left knee soft, pull back on the left foot, draw your way up, and set the right foot down onto the floor from there again. Okay. After one more breath here, we're going to set up for our wide-legged forward position. So I'm going to turn around to face the screen. Let's step the feet wide apart and feet in neutral for now. So center line of the feet facing directly forwards. Just as we did when we were in our narrow-legged fold, let's soften those knees, pull back on the feet so you feel that you're pulling back with the hips, drawing the chest forwards and releasing down through that center line from there. Once the hands reach the floor, allow the head to be heavy. You can keep this little bend into the knees, or again, as the feet press down, up, lift the sit bones, find some more length through the backs of those knees. And then from your wide-legged fold position, with the hands down, we'll soften the knees, lift the chest halfway. Let's turn the toes ever so slightly out from center. So turn the toes slightly out. And then from here, we're going to walk the hands over to the right foot. For now, keep both feet fully flat to the floor. And as you bend the right knee, we'll drop the hips as far as feels comfortable. If the outer edge of the left foot lifts a little, that's fine, but keep the inner edge grounded. And then from there, we walk through center over to the second side. And as we take these movements from side to side, if you find it helpful to lift the heels, that's fine too. Really, we're focusing on the sensations through the inner edge of the leg that is extended long. One more time, side to side. And then as we come back to that right foot, we'll hold that position. Feel the squeeze through the feet. Last breath here before we move over to that left foot once more. And then as you come up through center this time, lengthen both legs, walk the hands around to the right foot, spin the right toes to the top edge of the mat. We can lift the left heel from the floor as well. Take a moment to set your lunge position. We're going to come up onto the fingertips again. And then as you find that squeeze of legs together, let's draw the right leg long and then rebend the right knee. Take another round. If there's some bend in the right knee, still that's fine. But just work towards straightening and then rebending. Now, the next time we lengthen the right leg, we're going to lift the left hand and reach up to the sky. We find our wobbly triangle. Right knee bends, left fingertips touch down. Keep the left heel lifted. Let's take another round. Right leg draws long, left arm reaches up. And then we return to that lunge. One last time. Reach the left arm to the sky. Hold that triangle position. Now, from here, we feel that the left hip is squeezing forwards towards the front of the mat. The right hip is squeezing back in the opposite direction. So the pelvis more or less parallel to this top edge of the mat. Okay, now from here, let's rebend the right knee, take the left hand down, walk back around for wide-legged fold. We're going to take another round, and then if you want to take a different variation on wide-leg fold, hands can come to hips, catch behind the back, hold the ankles, whichever is your preference. So just another 3-4 breaths here. Can we maintain that sense of engagement along the back line of the legs, really staying with that engagement of those muscles, particularly those big hamstrings muscles. Okay, with the hands down, soften the knees, lift the chest. Again, we'll turn the toes slightly out. This time we'll begin walking over to the left foot. As you drop the hips, you might lift the left heel initially, and once the hips have dropped this time, we're going to turn the right toes away from the mat. Squeeze back on the right heel, and then we walk over to second side from there. Lower the hips, find that lunge position, left heel pulls back, and we move from one side to the other again. So if the heels stay grounded, that's fine, but as I say, if you want to lift the heels, you can make the pose a little more accessible. And then let's come over to that left leg again. We'll hold the position. If you want to bring the hands away from the floor, that's an option too. Hands together at the chest, some pressure left arm to left knee to roll the top shoulder back. And then from here, let's move over to that second side. So use the hands, help the transition, and find that pose with the weight into the right leg. And from this second side, let's move back to center again. So draw both legs long, find your fold, and from there we'll walk around for that lunge position, second side. Right heel is lifted up onto fingertips. First few rounds, let's keep both hands grounded. So just work the length into the left leg, then rebend the left knee. Let's take another round, squeezing long, and then rebending. Next time you extend the left leg, pick up the right hand, reach to the sky, and then take the hand to the floor, twice more. So might feel a lot less stable than our regular triangle. One last time, let's hold that triangle position. Keep that squeeze through the legs. And again, just notice what can be felt, particularly along that back line of left leg. Top hand comes down. We walk back around to wide-legged fold position. And again, we're going to hold one last round of wide-legged fold, any variation you want to take. And from your wide-legged fold, let's soften those knees. Hands can come to floor for a moment. Can we find that sense of pulling back on the feet? So again, we're engaging all those big muscles, hands to hips, keep pulling back on the feet as we draw our way up. And once you've come to standing, we're going to walk or heel toe the feet closer in together. So come back to a regular mountain pose, feet underneath the hips. I'm going to turn around to the side so you can copy my movements. Hands onto hips initially, keep the knees soft. We're going to take a standing balance. As we bend the right knee, we're going to take the heel of the right hand, the heel of the right foot, to the palm of the right hand. And then once you've got that connection, notice if you want to drop into the lower back. So ribs stay contained, a little tone in the belly. Let's bring the left hand to the chest so you can lift the chest into the hand. Left knee stays bent, and as we fold, keep pressing the right foot up into that right hand. We're going to hold that position. Now either stay with the right arm in place, use that as a feedback point for the right leg, or bring the right hand together with the left hand. Can we keep that squeeze of foot to sky? And then from here, we start to reverse our way up. Set the right foot down onto the floor, relax the arms. I'm going to turn around. We're going to take that second side. Begin with hands to hips. Soften those knees. Take the bend into the left knee, left heel to left palm. Right hand to chest. Keep the right knee soft. And again, I'm already dropping into that lower back. So let's keep that sense of containment and strength through the belly as we start to fold from there. Keep lifting the foot to hand. Stay here or here. And then from our balanced position, once again, we start to draw our way back to standing mountain. Release the left foot to the floor, release the arms, soften that breath. And then one last time from this mountain pose, let's draw down to standing fold. Soft knees, active engagement as we fold. And from the fold, we'll move back to downward dog again. So a step, a jump back, a transition any which way you choose. And then from your downward dog, let's come to a seated position. So again, make that transition any which way that works for you today. And once you've come down to the floor, we're going to set up for tabletop position. So hands behind the line of the body, fingertips turned out to the sides, feet fully flat to the floor. Let's roll the shoulders back, and as you press down through hands and feet, we'll lift up with the pelvis, squeeze back on those feet. Either look towards your knees or without kind of dropping the head back, you can look to the sky. So keep some length through the back of the neck. And notice if the hips start to drop. We really want to keep that elevation of the hips by squeezing back on those feet. And then from your tabletop, let's release all the way down. A few breaths to settle before we take one more round of that position. Now we can stay with tabletop, or we can extend the legs long for reverse plank position. So either option, same position with the hands, shoulders roll back. We press down through the feet. We work that lift of the hips. And once we're up into the position, we get that squeeze of the feet back towards the hands. Tailbone here is rolling towards the backs of the knees, so try not to arch the back again. And then from here, softly, softly, all the way down onto the mat. And once the pelvis is settled to the floor, take any movements the body feels it might need to release any tension away. And we're going to take a seated fold position. So I'm going to sit up onto my low level block. I find that helpful for me to access the hinge in the fronts of the hips. So take some height under the props, underneath the sit bones as well, if that's helpful. Initially, let's soften the knees, and we'll bring the hands onto the hips. Now with those knees soft, just draw the belly towards the thighs, and try not to round the spine for the moment. So keep the chest lifting towards the feet, and then from there, up we come. And we'll take a few more rounds. You can keep the hands here or bring them together at the chest. Fold forwards, and then up we come. So we really want to feel that we're finding that hinge from the fronts of the hip joints as we move in and out of the fold position. If you want to find a little more challenge into the movement, reach the arms long, keep the arms alongside the head, we fold, and then up we come. And one more option is to hold a block between those hands. Arms alongside the head again, squeeze forwards, and find your way up. So one more movement in and out of the fold. You might stretch the legs slightly longer now. And then the next time we come into the fold, we're going to release. So initially we keep the chest extending, and then as we fold, we can bring a little flexion into the spine, bring the hands down to wherever they settle. That can be to floor, to feet, to legs, and soften into that fold position. And now we're in the fold. It can be quite nice sometimes just to explore a few movements of the spine. So taking some cat-cow movements in your fold and noticing how that affects sensations in different parts of the body, how it affects the stretch along the backs of the legs, along the back of the torso, and in any other parts of the body as well. So just a few more breaths here. And then as we walk the hands in to come up from that fold position, if like me, you are up on a prop, I'd suggest just sliding off of that prop for a moment. And we'll take a bend into the knees for a moment as well. Let's reach the arms inside the knees. We're going to grip the big toes with the first two fingers of each hand. Roll the shoulders back. Let's sit back a little. See if we can lift the heels. Try not to collapse the spine. So keep that lift of the chest, and we either stay here or we bring some length into the legs, or perhaps we work towards fully extending those legs long. As the feet press into the hands, we pull back with the hands into the feet, squeeze the shoulder blades back. And then soften the knees again and start to reverse your way out of that balance. Heels touch down. We'll stretch the legs all the way long. And then we're going to set up for a slightly wider fold position. So I'm going to turn diagonal to the camera. My legs are in a V shape. They don't have to be super wide apart. Just find that kind of roughly 90-degree angle between the legs. Again, you might want to sit up on a block here. I actually prefer, personally, this position with my sit bones on the floor. Let's bring the hands to the hips or to the chest. Again, initially without rounding the spine, just draw your way forwards into the fold, keep a squeeze down on the heels, and then draw your way up. So the first few movements we take in and out of the fold position, just exploring that depth of fold, exploring how the sensations grow and build as the chest draws closer to the floor. As we did with the narrow-legged fold, we can stay here, or we can stretch the arms up, or we can use those blocks if we so wish. Hold the block between the hands, squeeze, and then fold from there. Let's take one more movement in and out of the fold. And then the next time we take the fold, that's where we spend some time. So bring the hands to the floor, keep that lift of the chest initially, and then you might allow the spine to round a little from there. Same options, we can take some cat-cows. Now we're into the fold, just see how that shifts things. And then softening. And as we spend a few more breaths here, just notice if the toes are still pointing up to the sky. Sometimes the legs might want to turn into the floor or drop out to the sides. As best we can, let's keep those toes pointing up. Both heels are pressing into the floor and pulling back towards their respective hips. From this wide fold position, let's lift the chest halfway. We're going to walk the hands around to the left leg and fold to that left shin. Again, notice what's going on with the right leg. Do the right toes want to drop in towards the mat? Let's come over to second side. So slide through center, fold towards the right shin. And then once again, we'll return through center from there. So Forward to your center line, there might be some more range to explore. And then from there, let's find our way up. So walk the hands in, draw your way up. You might use the hands underneath the knees to help you gather those knees back to center. And then once we've come around to center, let's take a cross-legged position. So any cross-legged position. And again, once we've found out our cross-legged seat, we're going to take a fold forwards from there. So just releasing that tension along the back lines of the legs. And then we'll switch out that cross of legs. So let's draw our way up, take the other leg in front, and return to that forward position once again. And this time, as we draw our way up from the fold, we're going to come down onto our backs. So let's take a transition to the floor. And once you've come down onto your back, we'll take a squeeze of the knees in towards the chest. So just for a moment, bring the knees in towards the body, and then release the feet onto the floor. And if you have the space, you can stretch arms wide. Otherwise, hands to belly is fine. And from here, we're going to take a twist. So both knees can drop to one side. They can drop down like a couple of windscreen wipers, or if you want to take a different version of your reclining twist, take whichever version you like best. And then bringing knees through center, and we'll take that twist second side, just allowing all the energy of practice to settle before we take our final reclining position. And then as you bring your knees back to center, bring the hips, the pelvis to neutral as well. And we're going to set up for whichever is our preferred reclining posture from here. So again, you can take a few moments just to find that posture, to get any little wriggles and fidgets out of the body. And then once you've found a position that works for you, just finding that sense of release down into the floor again, that sense of being held. Keeping your awareness centered and focused in your practice, in your breath, in your body.